As soon as you go on stage, it's political.
Yeah.
And in a very wide range. But I always understood what I'm doing, beside all these musical things around. But it's a statement. It's a political statement too. And yeah, I'm glad we did it. Oh, we are still... Right, I realized my little mistake. We will see. And you know, for myself, I'm in a way a very simple-minded guy. But since I was a kid, I was listening to the blues. I mean, I'm a white guy, I'm European, but I always was trying to understand. And guys like him, they helped me to do that. But the blues, for me, is the essence of music anyway. What form, what kind ever. It's not the 12 bars, it's a person behind. And it's always, in our kind of music, it's always about the person behind. I mean, jazz history, for example, is history of persons, not of styles. I mean, if you look what Armstrong did, if you look what Elling did, some crazy shit. I mean, really great stuff. And I have the feeling a lot of the young guys don't know anymore where it's coming from. It's really sometimes sad what you hear, and what these guys learn on the conservatories, I have no idea.
Night, at rehearsal, something happened that I was thinking might happen, that we, as four guys, we played together for 30 years, more than 30 years, and we've become very comfortable, and Peter brought some discomfort as far as roles. haven't been playing out there enough. I haven't been, was playing the upper partials of the chords, the 13ths, the 9ths, the interesting parts of the chords, and it's great. And that pushes me. And
yeah, I mean, we are using Oxbow material, and I'm just, the little outsider, and try to find my space, and I think we have at least one thing in common, a certain kind of energy which we can share and where we can meet, and I like the little songs I've heard yesterday, and so it should work. Yeah. No, I mean, my information was just a little bit of YouTube, which is always a bit dangerous. And then the lady I'm working with, Heather Lee, told me about the band quite a bit. She knows quite the history, and that's all. And I mean, if it wouldn't have worked yesterday, I would have said, fuck you.
Really?
Or they would have, man, get that saxophone out of here. You know, for me, this kind of situation is really not a new one. I mean, for example, I always was looking for challenges out of the jazz context. And I mean, for example, if you remember the years of Last Exit, which was quite a good challenge for me too. Or at the moment I'm working since a couple of years with a Portuguese rock and roll band, and the collaboration with Heather Lee is a completely new field for my way of thinking and playing. So I think for all of us, challenge is the most important part of it. Otherwise you feel comfortable after 30 years.
thought a lot intellectually about what could happen, what we want to happen. I think it won't be fully successful if things that we don't expect. There has to be that surprise. Hopefully a good surprise.
In other words, desire is for the unexpressed, the surprising to happen. Otherwise, it's not worth getting out of bed in the morning. Right?
We considered not playing any songs, but I think that's part of our character. One of the things we do well is play our songs.
Okay.
And they have a character that I think fits what I've heard Peter do.
No, and it fits to my way of nowadays playing quite well, because I more and more discover from myself playing songs, writing songs. So that comes gets quite close together.
Music transcends, hopefully, those kinds of borders, I think. You know, everybody's listening to music from all over the world, and so I think it's up to the individual, but it doesn't really matter where they're coming from.
That's right. My little experience over the last years, especially a couple of studio recordings I did with different people, I wouldn't say it's getting back to songs, to pieces, but after all these years of endless while playing, the change coming back to that, I like that very much for myself. Yeah.
It's interesting to hear you say that you've moved more towards songs, maybe generally more towards structure. We also have moved from more chaotic, less structured recordings and performances to pushing against structure. That so-called free improvising all my life long, or most of it, and the last big experience was the work with the Chicago Quartet, where we started with pieces, tunes, compositions, but then I decided, okay, fuck that, we just try, we are old enough to improvise,
But of course you reach a certain point where you have played it all. And after that, it's not a decision, it's a process. I found more and more, you can call it going a little backwards, play certain structures, certain patterns, certain melodies, and using that, which gives you another feeling, and especially since I'm working with Heather Lee with this funny instrument, pedal steel guitar. When she asked me to work with her, I even didn't know what that was, so I had to look it up.
Yeah.
But that is a completely different world. It's not the bass and drum business, it's really something else. And so people quite often come after the performance and say, oh, who did the compositions? We don't have any, but it's a very structured and very clear music in a way. And maybe I'm just tired of that free jazz bullshit. I don't know.
Change is good. Restrictions are good. Some less
Yeah.
choices.
I mean, you know, in any situation where you have people who have done something for a significantly long period of time, I think the issue becomes how do we keep ourselves amused? And that's the real challenge. I mean, if we're not amused, we might as well be working in factories, right? So,
Hopefully the audience feels the same.
Yeah.
It's amused as well.
Well,
What I heard you say
but
was,
the
was
muse-
intuitive.
yeah, right. The muse that's being chased is one that instinctively feels better. An amoeba, you know, we go toward pleasant experiences versus unpleasant. I mean, it gives me great pleasure to do as we are doing versus it being purely intellectual and trying to achieve something in an academic sense, right? I mean, I'm motivated by intuition.
Going back to your earlier point, school is great. There are things that you can learn more quickly in school if you keep your soul and keep your attention and keep your intuition. I love classical music. I go to see it when I can. It's become really expensive, but that tradition is great. And the great players have soul, Pablo Casals. It's not perfect, and it's a person. playing great compositions. So school doesn't have to be a bad thing, but it can scrub away your humanity if you're not careful.
No surprises. I almost left. Head through closed. Casement doors. Through dreams of dark air. I was silent.
I mean, it goes always up and down, and I can tell you, I have had times where I was sitting at home and thought, man, tomorrow I sell my horns. That is a natural thing that happens. The only thing what helps is work. Yeah.